Bambiz presents Elder Law Growth, the podcast where we share what's actually working in elder law and estate planning marketing straight from the team behind it. Let's get to it. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Elder Law Growth podcast presented by Bambiz. Learn more at bambiz.net. I'm Nicole, and before we jump in today, let's make sure that you're subscribed to the show so you don't miss any upcoming episodes this season, because we've got some really great conversations coming up. Also, we would genuinely love to hear from you. So if you've been enjoying the podcast, shoot us an email, leave us a comment, leave a review, whatever's easiest for you. And if there are topics that you want us to cover or questions that you'd love us to answer in future episodes, or maybe an industry partner that you think that you'd really love to hear from, please let us know. A lot of the conversations that we have on the podcast actually come from real things that firms are dealing with every single day. So your feedback really does help us create content that's actually useful for you and your firm. And speaking of upcoming episodes, next month, Jason is going to be on the podcast, sitting down with an incredible industry peer for a really great conversation that you don't want to miss. So again, make sure that you're subscribed so you can get notifications when that episode drops. But today, I want to talk about something that comes up every single summer for law firms. And that's this urge to basically disappear for the summer. Now, let me be clear before anybody starts yelling at me or you decide to turn this off because you think I'm talking nonsense here. I am not saying that you should not take a vacation, and I'm not saying that your team can't slow down a little bit. And honestly, I really think that you should enjoy the summer. Spend time with your family, travel, log off for a little bit. That part is healthy. But there's a really big difference between adjusting your marketing for the season and completely shutting it off. And that's what I want to talk about today. So every year around this time, we start hearing these same things from firms. And I'm talking every single summer. This is the same thing. We're thinking about pausing workshops until September, or we're probably going to slow down ads right now, or people don't really care about estate planning during the summer. And honestly, I think that mindset costs firms a lot more than they realize. Because here's the reality of that mindset. You cannot expect to grow a business consistently if your marketing only exists when it feels convenient, especially if you're a firm trying to scale. So if your goal has been, I want to hit $1 million. I want more consistency. I want more predictable leads. I want to be able to grow my team. You cannot build that while disappearing for a quarter of the year. And honestly, I think a lot of firms underestimate how much momentum matters in marketing. Momentum is huge. You really don't notice when it's working because it's gradual. But then you definitely notice when it disappears. Because what happens is firms stopping everything in June or July, and then August rolls around, and then they start getting nervous, and then September hits, and suddenly everybody wants consultations immediately. Everybody wants workshops packed immediately. Everybody wants leads immediately. But marketing doesn't work like flipping a light switch. You can't just hit the brakes, especially in elder law and estate planning, because people don't usually see one ad and immediately hire you. That's not how this industry works. Usually people need multiple touch points. And if you've been in the game a long time, you know what I'm talking about. They see your content, then maybe they see another ad later, then they visit your website, then they ignore you for maybe a month or two, or then they attend a workshop, then maybe they finally schedule a consultation. This is a relationship building industry, and that trust takes time, especially with sensitive topics like elder law and estate planning. And when you disappear for 2 or 3 months, you're interrupting that trust building cycle. And then you have to start all over again. Honestly, one of the biggest misconceptions that we hear as a team every single summer, around this time, probably about May, is, well, people aren't thinking about estate planning right now. And I always think, are you sure about that? Because summer actually creates a ton of estate planning conversations, naturally, actually. Families are together more. Adult children are visiting parents. People are traveling. People are seeing health changes up close. Somebody notices dad's repeating himself. Somebody realizes mom hasn't updated documents in a long time. Someone starts thinking, what would happen if something happened while we were traveling? And I actually think that summer creates more awareness for some families. And here's the part that firms seem to forget. If you disappear during that time, another attorney doesn't. Right? Somebody else is still going to run ads. Somebody else is still visible online. Somebody else is still hosting educational events. And because so many firms are slowing down during the summer, the firms that are staying active often stand out more. Less competition, not a bad thing. But stopping when you want to become $1 million firm and you're only a $500,000 firm, you don't get there by skipping an entire quarter. Now, does that mean you need to run yourself into the ground all summer? Absolutely not. But I do think that this is where firms get stuck mentally. So they start to think, well, if we can't do everything at full capacity, then we should just stop. No, we cannot have that mindset. You adapt, and that's the difference. You adjust your strategy instead of abandoning it. Maybe during the busy seasons, you're doing 4 workshops a month, right? But maybe in the summer, you only do 2. That's still visibility. That's still momentum. And maybe instead of pushing heavy event campaigns, you shift into something easier operationally. Google Ads. Have them running while you're not doing workshops. Throw out a lead magnet. Automated email follow-ups, right? Recorded webinars, short form videos, make some reels, right? That you can throw out during the summer and schedule. Simple educational content. The point is not that every firm has to market the exact same way all year long. I don't think you get anywhere doing the same things all the time. But the point is that you stay present because consistency matters more than intensity. Let me say that again. Consistency matters more than intensity. And honestly, I think firms kind of romanticize the idea of, well, we'll just regroup this fall, right? But fall becomes way harder when you've been invisible all summer. So now let's talk about workshops specifically, because this is where we see firms make emotional decisions instead of just strategic ones. We do workshops really well here at Bambiz. So I think this is really important for people who are interested in doing workshops or currently doing them to hear. Every single year we hear, well, nobody comes in the summer. Nobody comes to my workshop in the summer. And honestly, that's usually not the full truth of the story. Do attendance patterns shift a little? Sure. Absolutely. But smaller workshops are not failed workshops. In fact, we've actually seen some smaller workshops convert better sometimes because the environment starts to feel more personal. People ask more questions, attorneys can connect more directly with attendees, and the conversations become less rushed. And honestly, summer workshops can attract really motivated people because the people showing up are usually intentional, right? They're spending their summer sitting at your workshop. But what often happens is firms assume that the attendance will be low before they even try, or they don't adjust the messaging, or promotion starts too late, or they stop following up. And then they blame the season, right? So you can't make all these changes and then just stop something and assume it's the season, right? But meanwhile, another firm nearby is still consistently educating people and building trust. Now, I also think summer is a really smart time to focus on lead magnets. And I know sometimes lead magnets sound super boring when people hear that phrase, and they aren't really exciting. But honestly, they work really well for estate planning and elder law because people want that educational information before they make decisions, especially in this practice area. People are searching things quietly for months sometimes before contacting an attorney. So if you've got a guide, a checklist, a planning worksheet, a webinar, that you've previously recorded, a resource about protecting access, or like a guide for adult children helping aging parents, right? Those things can keep generating leads even while your team has a light summer schedule. And those leads can continue nurturing in the background. And that's the beauty of automation. Your marketing can still work even while you're taking a break. And honestly, I think that's what growing firms need to understand more, is that they understand that marketing is a part of the infrastructure of the business. It's not a temporary thing that you can turn on and off, right? So it's just as important in your marketing as it is building that relationship with the clients. And the way that you do that is through your marketing. So this is not just a temporary thing that you turn on and off. The firms that are scaling from that $500,000 to that $1 million firm are consistently staying visible year round. Now, the strategy might need to change seasonally. That workload might change seasonally, but visibility stays consistent. Some of the biggest growth opportunities happen when everyone else pulls back. That's true in almost every industry. If everybody gets quieter, right, and you stay consistent, your visibility naturally increases. I also think summer exposes operational weaknesses sometimes. And again, I do not mean that critically. We're not judging you. We're not doing any of that. But if one vacation can completely stop all marketing activity, that's usually a systems issue. And that means that too much is dependent on one person, and that person will burn out. Okay? This is why the systems matter so much as firms grow, because sustainable growth isn't about sprinting nonstop. It's about building systems that continue working even while life is happening, and even when people are traveling, even while schedules shift, even when things get busy. That's the actual goal, not burnout, not consistently hustling, just consistency. I think we talk about consistency a lot, but I think consistency is one of the most underrated advantages in law firm marketing. Not the flashy stuff, not the trendy stuff. You don't need to hop on a TikTok reel today. Consistent marketing, whatever that may be for your firm, right? But the firms that keep showing up are usually the firms that people remember in the long run. And especially in elder law and estate planning, familiarity matters so much, probably more than anything. People want to feel like they know you before they hire you with such a sensitive topic of their lives, right? So if there's really one thing I want you to take away from this episode, it's this. Do not disappear this summer. Let me say that again. Do not disappear this summer. Yes, take the vacation. Slow down where you need to. Protect your energy. Enjoy your family. But stay visible. Keep something running. Keep educating. Keep nurturing leads. Keep building trust with people. Because the firms that continue showing up consistently are usually the firms that continue growing consistently too. Let me say that one more time before we wrap up here. The firms that continue showing up consistently are usually the firms that continue growing consistently too. Okay, so that's all the time that we have for today's episode of the Elder Law Growth Podcast, presented to you by Bambiz. If you're ready to grow your firm using marketing that actually works, visit bambiz.net. Again, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, or send us your feedback, because we genuinely love hearing from you and hearing what topics would help you the most. So shoot us an email, drop us a comment, do something. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep showing up for your community. We'll see you on the next episode. That's a wrap on another episode of the Elder Law Growth Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things marketing for elder law and estate planning law firms. Here you can find all of the tools and skills you need to market your own practice without wasting your time. If you like this podcast, please leave us a review wherever you're listening. And if you're ready to take the pressure off and let our team handle your marketing, visit bambiz.net and book a free call with us today.